Starting from the back, wage inequality. The next 20 minutes will be about wage inequality, in particular about college wage premium, which is the wage of college graduates relative to wage of those who didn't finish college. And I'm going to present you some results on the dynamics of this wage inequality, specifically on the differences in this dynamics between different countries. And I'll try to explain you these differences with the mechanism that I label endogenous technology choices. It looks scary, but it's in fact pretty simple. So firms in different countries face different labor market conditions. They will have different incentives and different decisions on the type of technology they want to adopt. And these differences will give us some explanatory power to explain the differences in the dynamics of college wage premium. Just to give you a flavor. Okay, well, no one is surprised by the fact that the number of college graduates is increasing in OECD countries. I think everyone here also knows that the college wage premium in most of the OECD countries was also increasing, which could be a little bit puzzling for people. Like when you think normally when the supply of one factor of production increases, then its relative price should fall. Here is the other way around. But we have a good explanation for this, which you all know, which is a skill-biased technological change. So there is arrival of new technological paradigm, global technological paradigm, which generated higher demand for college graduates. That's why their wages increased. Now a new piece of information. So according to the results, which econometric results, which I will show you in a second, if at any point in time a country see a very large increase in number of college graduates, more than in other countries, then at this point in time, the college wage premium relative to the other countries in this country will fall, which is in line with the standard downward sloping demand story. But then also what I find is that a decade later, from that point, the college wage premium will actually, in this country, increase. This country will notice an abnormal increase in college wage premium more than in other countries. And as a result, at the beginning, after the growth of number of college graduates, the college wage premium relative to the other countries will drop. But after this decade, it will start a little bit before, it starts recovering. And it will never go above the initial level by economic reasons, by economic theory, but there will be some recovery. And in the data, it's going to be reported as a growth. So this story, this observation cannot be explained by the global change in the skill biasedness of the technological paradigm. Well, most of the models that deals with technology treat technology as some kind of frontier parameters, and they don't differ between countries. So of course they cannot explain the cross-country variation. So for this reason, I'll give you outline an alternative. I propose an alternative explanation. It is pretty simple. It's all about technological adjustments. So I still acknowledge that there is some technological paradigm which could be skill biased. But within this technological paradigm, there are many possible production methods. Each technological paradigm will offer a spectrum of production methods, some more, some less skill biased. And then a firm has some degree of choice between those production methods. And now when there is high increasing number of college graduates and their wage drops, then they might consider to change the production methods. So you can think about, like, imagine I'm an owner of a firm and I see that there is a rapid increase in number of managers available in the market. So at some point in time, at a given point in time, a short run, I cannot do much. You know, I can hire 1, 2 more managers, but their marginal productivity is falling very, very quickly, and their wages go down. But over the long run, I might restructure a little bit my production. You know, I can think, you know, maybe I should redesign my production line. I should minimize waste. I can substitute. I have more possibilities for substituting simple, like non-college workers with college workers. And as a result, I'll give some more places for managers, and the marginal productivity over the long run can go up. So a simple adjustment mechanism that we know at least since 1965, but in fact the simple adjustment mechanism can explain at least part of the increase in college wage premium that we saw in OECD. So there are 2 implications of this story. One is that that the response to the increase in number of college graduates in short run is much sharper than in long run. Okay, so the demand curve is flatter in the long run. Again, it's a long story, but it's the old story, but unfortunately we too often forget about it. There is a second implication that this adjustment mechanism, or perhaps some other non-global mechanism, can explain part of the overall increase in wage inequality that we saw in OECD countries. So this is US, just as an example. So here it's illustrated pretty, you see the room, how you see the room for this adjustment story, how it can explain the increase of college wage premium. So you see the sharp increase in number of college graduates, acceleration number of college graduates around 70s, and almost simultaneously the college wage premium has dropped. And my point is that at least part of this growth, not all, but at least part of this growth of college wage premium that followed could be explained by this adjustment mechanism that followed after this acceleration. So here is the plan of the talk. So I'll present you a simple theoretical model to a little bit formalize my argument. Then I'm going to show you the calibration, and then if I still have time, I'll go a little bit into a little bit looser econometric exploration of this topic and playing on the data. So dynamic model. This is the model. So this is based on the Castellin-Coleman model. Their model was static. I made it dynamic to fit this dynamics of the data. And it's pretty simple. So you have only one final product, but you have many ways of producing it. And each production, so there are several production methods that you can use. Each production method is characterized by the CES production function, but the production methods differ between each other in this parameter AS, AU, the unit productivities. So some production methods that are very skill intensive, they will have very high AS and low AU, and other production methods that are unskill intensive will have high AU and low AS. Okay, so if you can characterize each production method with this pair AS AU, we can simply we can think about it as a point in AS AU space. So here, any point here would represent some production method. Now, the production methods that are available to the firm are described by this function, which I graphed here. So any point here, any AS/AU point here would be available to the firm. Okay, outside this region, not. And the set of available production methods will be determined by the global technological paradigm. The parameters here, you see, so the parameters B and gamma will be basically specific to each technological paradigm. So you can think about new global technological paradigm that has higher B, so it's more efficient. Then you will see, this curve shifting up. So we will have some production methods that will have both higher productivity of low-skilled and high-skilled workers. But you can also think about change in technological paradigm in terms of gamma. There will be new technological paradigm with higher gamma. What it means, higher gamma means that the technological paradigm by nature is becoming more skill intensive. Here on this graph, it means that this region shifts upward. So there will be some possibilities, like here, where there will be some possibilities with very high productivity for skilled workers. So basically, changing technology. There will be two stories. One story will be changing global technological paradigm, which will imply the change in this possibilities for firms, change in gamma, and then movement along this curve will be endogenous technology choices story. So firms have possibility to move along this curve. Okay, supply side. I simplified. I assume it's vertical. It's inelastic, and it follows the random walk here, random walk with drift. This is the firm maximization problem. So this is standard. Firm can choose how much of the skilled workers and unskilled workers they want to hire, but in addition, it can also choose the technology. Okay, this parameter is ASAU. We have one important note that the firm cannot adjust technology immediately. It can only choose the technology for the next period. So it's just to reflect that you cannot change your technology overnight. And subject to this availability of technologies that are described by global technological paradigm. And what you get, I don't want to go through all the derivations, but the model prediction is pretty simple. So you get three effects. First is the typical downward sloping demand curve due to diminishing returns to skills. So if you have more skilled workers, then the marginal productivity decreases and the wages will decrease in equilibrium. Then the second effect is this skill biasness of the global technological paradigm. If you have the technological paradigm is becoming more skill intensive, you have more possibilities for some interesting technologies, production methods for skilled workers, and again, their relative wage goes up. And the third effect is this endogenous technology choice story. So if firms expect that in the future there will be a lot of skilled workers, they will choose the production methods from the possibilities they have to adjust the production. And again, the more skilled workers they expect, the more skill biased production methods they choose. And again, this will shift up the relative wages of workers. I told you, I assume the random walk with drift. So basically the expectation will be I assume this assumption, that the expectation will be given by the previous level of skilled workers plus some constant. Okay, the calibration. So what is doing this result here, this condition here? Well, it's asking us to be estimated with linear regression. It looks like it wants, and it's basically by regressing by simple regression we can estimate the two parameters of the model. But in fact, we don't even need this because this term will fully describe this diminishing returns effect, the change in global technology change, and then the endogenous technology choice effect. So just running the simple regression, we can estimate what is the effect of each of these channels. Okay, so there are two interesting identification issues. First, if a firm is very good in predicting the future number of college graduates in the future, then these two will be perfectly correlated, and we have identification problem. But fortunately, there were some shocks that made that changed. There was a big changes, as you saw, for example, in the US. There was acceleration of number of college graduates, and I treated this as a surprise for firms. So firms were surprised, and they didn't forecast it well, and the future supply of skills, and this allows us for identification. And then the second big problem of identification is that the skill biases of the technology could be correlated with the increasing number of college graduates. We know that this was increasing over time, and this was also increasing over time. But what we can do, we can use the cross-section dimension of our panel data, because we know that the global technological change is global by definition, so it has to be the same for all the countries. Well, this element here will be changing between countries. Okay, so this is the empirical model. This will be this diminishing returns effect. This I allowed for either the technological change to this endogenous technology choice to be reflected in either lag 5 or lag 10 past supply of skills, and then there is a dummy that will capture these changes in global technology options. So to make it a little bit more intuitive, I can simply rewrite this model like this. So so whenever you don't see substrict I, it means it's the average. So writing it like this means that I'm looking at the effect of increase in number of college graduates on skill premium by isolating out all the global factors. Okay, I only look at the changes relative to the averages. So this allows me to isolate away all the global factors. Okay, data, EU claims, 2008 release. I did it for 23 countries between 1970 and 2005 because I don't have data for all the countries for this period. It's unbalanced. And this is the result. So the first effect, which is immediate effect of increasing number of college graduates, is negative, and in terms of sign and magnitude, this is very similar to the literature. So we see the drop in college wage premium. Then is this endogenous technology choice, and here, well, the 5 years, like if you lack skill supply 5 years, it's not significant. But if you look at the long lags, like 10 years, then indeed this coefficient is positively significant. So it means that if there is increasing number of college graduates in more than in other countries, then we need time, over time, 10 years, the college age premium in this country will go up, and I argue this is because, according to the model, this change is attributed to this fact that firms adjust their production methods. And then this constant here will capture the changes in the global technological paradigm, which obviously, as we expected, on average is increasing. So college wage premium was increasing in this time because of global factors. Okay, so this is how the model looks when it's calibrated. And this is just visualization how it works. So the relative supply of skills increased in this period, I think it's from 1990 to, because of lags, I had to shorten this period a little bit. So between 1990 and 2005, the supply of skills increased by 21%. If you look only at the demand, decreasing like falling demand, then it means that the college wage premium should decrease by 18% in this period, because of diminishing returns to skilled workers. Instead, what we saw is that in this period the college wage premium has increased. So we have 46% of the increase that we have to explain somehow. And according to the model, calibrating this model, we can find that around 1/3 of this increase is coming due to endogenous technology choices. So firms adjust their production. And 33% is because of the global factors, which is basically probably ICT and global skill bias of the technology. Okay, so this was the estimation of the model, which is just a possibility result. But can you think about some other options? So in the second part of the paper, I go a little bit more, a little bit playing with this data and thinking what can be other reasons why we see the pattern that we see, the pattern of correlations that we see. I have too little time to go through all of them, but basically I find arguments that cannot be driven by reverse causality. Well, it's unlikely to be driven by reverse causality, or by globalization, or by collapse of trade unions. These two actually are interesting. They potentially could play a role. because they could, they are very long. They have effect over a very long time. So just to show you the result, even when I control for these two factors, it doesn't change. The result is still positive significant, doesn't change in terms of magnitude. So there's more detailed robustness checks in the paper. But to get to the conclusion, so I think that the main empirical finding of the paper is this increase in the speed of college wage premium growth in the countries that experience growth of college graduates 10 years earlier. And then there are several explanations for this, but the most likely candidate is the one about endogenous technology choices. And when you calibrate the model, it can explain around 1/3 of the total increase in the skill premium in OECD countries.